Hey Chasers, I'm going to talk a little bit about liners today. As I teach more and more, and I get older and older, more experienced, I notice that liners can be sort of a source of questions. People want to know how thick should the liners be, how thin should the liners be. I'm just going to kind of go over a bunch of them, a bunch of kind of samples. So I'll talk about thick liners versus thin liners. There's 8 thin liners in the 25-piece Nishamkin set, and I also have a 5-piece thick liner set. So we're going to talk about the difference. So a thin liner is a tool like this. So it's a very fine line weight. It's not sharp, it's just a skinny line weight. And then you can see the width of these versus the width of these. So the width is the same, but these two tools have thicker line weight. Let me focus that. So you can see the side view, I think, better. See how this has a thicker line weight than this tool of the same width. See? So a tool like this will make thin traced lines like this. They're just light. If you try to go over that design once you have some relief, like this, if you try to go over your skinny line, you're just going to cut through. See how this is sunken down quite low? You need something thicker to push the metal down that low. So whereas I may use a tool, a fine liner for a line like this, once I've got my relief established and I want to, get down in there and push these lines down deep, push these lines down deeper, I need something that's going to push the metal without tearing it. And so this is a thicker, heavier line weight liner. The same goes for the curved lines. So where you have curved lines, you might have curved tracers. So here's what I would consider a tracer. At least these are the names that I was taught. You can call them whatever you want. Thin liners, tracer liners, whatever. See, there's a skinny line weight. It's a curve. It's a skinny line weight. Here's two tools with the same exact width as those two, but they're thicker. They're just thicker. You can see the difference if I hold them next to each other. There's not a giant difference in measurement, but they make a giant difference when you use them. Let's see how close we can get it. The iPhone has some limitations, I find. And I'm definitely not a videographer, but I think you get, there we go. See how this one is thin and this one's thick. This one is good for tracing and fine lines. This is good for pushing the lines and getting them bold, and if you wanted to make the lines deep. So here's some lines that a fine liner could make. Let me get a pointer. So right here are lines that a fine line tool can make. Let's see if we can focus that. These concentric sort of parallel, real fine lines. And then here's another one that's like a fine line, and then here's something you would use a thick liner for. Or if you like to do the kind of chasing where you put outlines like this, you need thicker liners. So this would be a thin line, this would be a thick line. So 2 different ways to make lines. Here's some fine lines, and here's some heavy lines. So here's another example. This was done with a thick, heavy liner. This was done with a thick, heavy liner. These are done with thin lines. These are done with regular thin liners, right here. These were done with thick liners. The veins in the leaves, let's see, is there an example here? The vein in this leaf, the vein in this leaf, not so deep. I embossed here and I embossed here and I left this low and went over it lightly, but if I really wanted to sink it deep and make it bold, I'm going to use a thick liner and go in like that. Let's see if I could get a better depth shot of that. Can you see how deep that is right there? It's pretty deep. Whereas there, you know, not so much, and this is very flat. Here's a leaf. So this leaf has a very deep vein going down it, but then you can see it's got really shallow veins as detail on the top, right here. So a deep vein like this would be a thicker liner, and these little ones would be thin liners. So the background here was pushed down with a thick liner also. If you try to do that with a thin tracer liner, you're going to cut through. See all this stuff, this hasn't been worked from the front again, but you can see all the original tracing is just really fine line work. So if we really want to punch that in and make it nice and bold, it's going to be thicker liners. There's some thick lines, thin lines. I think that pretty much covers it. But so if you're going to make a pendant or a pair of earrings, like this could be a pair of earrings, and you want to put a nice heavy outline on it, or if you want to make a pendant, something like this, and let's say it had some nice line mark on it, and you wanted to sink it down nice and deeply and bold, you know, you're not going to start using fine liners. It's going to have to be heavy liners. So anyway, do have the 5-piece fine liner set, and we are going to be running a nice end of summer sale, so keep an eye out for that. Also a new website, FurnishedYamkin.com, coming up. Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.